Alaikum and welcome to Market Talk with Musaffa, your weekly deep dive into halal investing, where faith meets finance. We are on a mission to halalify the investment world, one stock at a time, inshallah. Let's explore the market through the halal lens and uncovering opportunities that align with our values and our future. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. For everyone, especially our guest, brother Shah, and all the people who join every week to listen to us. I have to put that thanks from the beginning. Thank you. So today's topic is silver up or down, how to invest without stress. And this has come up because there was a sharp up and down of the silver suddenly on the market. Everyone probably experienced it, has seen it. So we decided to discuss this with our Muslim brothers and sisters and our investors who might be interesting to listen up to this topic and share their experience as well. At the outset, I always ask everyone to leave some comments to support our effort to bring these topics live to you and learn from them and learn on from these discussions. At least stay up to date on some information on the market. Alhamdulillah. And then please let us know where you're joining. And always feel free to share your experience and leave your questions. Press likes buttons, emojis, anything is appreciated. Thank you so much. So the spot silver hit near record levels early in 2026. Everyone have seen it before experiencing a sharp pullback, right? And volatility reflecting the market torn between strong fundamental demands and speculative positioning. So recent moves include steep drops followed with the rebounds of 5 to 7% in single session. With a very continued volatility. Everyone has seen it. So this is going to be like our main focus today. And then we'll explore what's driving silver's price action, the differences between the short-term noise and structural drivers in the market, how long-term investors have to think their process, their investment process, including staying risk aware, and then important aspect of the halal compliant investment, right? So all of these are going to be our general discussion for today. And then at the beginning, I always make this disclaimer because we're SEC registered investment advisor. We have to put this disclaimer at the beginning. These live session is educational and informational purposes only. Nothing discussed today should be considered as investment advice or any type of professional advice, recommendation, or sell or buy or do any of the investment actions. Discussion is on this live session not tailored for your specific financial situation, risk tolerance, or investment objectives. It's just general discussion by us on this topic, right? The views and opinions expressed during this webinar is our own and may not represent the views of the experience of others, right? So all investments involve risks, and past performance, of course, does not mean the future outcome, inshallah. So these are main things I have to mention at the beginning, and then we deep dive into our most interesting topic today. And as usual, I will be asking all these interesting questions. Brother Shah, he is going to be sharing his knowledge, his learned information and experience and etc. With you, and then you can learn all, of course. And of course, don't forget, we have started our new campaign together with these live sessions. So whoever downloads the app and then logs in and opens account with us, they signs up for a subscription for Musaffa, we're giving away a discount, and that discount will be posted at towards the end of our session. Please stay tuned so you don't miss it. Last week it was only discount applied to monthly subscriptions, and we worked with the team to get for you both monthly and annual subscriptions. So it's going to be one of the best opportunities to take full advantage of Musaffa. Okay, so we deep dive to the topic. So we will come back to the subscription topic later on. So, Brother Shah, how are you doing today?
Alhamdulillah, Assalamu alaikum to all of our viewers and to you as well, Brother Anath. Thank you for having me. Alhamdulillah, I'm doing good. Excited to get into it.
Awesome. So you had your cup of coffee today?
Yes, sir. I
I'm
still
finished.
have it with me.
Yeah, I'm finishing mine. Yes, it's something that we do every Saturday because Saturdays are after a hard week of work, and then we wake up to share our knowledge with you, Alhamdulillah. And then coffee always helps, right? So,
Alhamdulillah, for sure.
my first question for you, Brother Shah, can you summarize what's happening with the silver prices recently, both sharp declines and rebounds and whatnot?
100%, 100%. So, a little bit of context for our viewers, although I'm sure this is something people have been following on the news already themselves. For the past year, silver, along with gold, although gold gets the spotlight, silver prices were on a great bull run, on a great tear for the last year. So, prices rose almost 150% across last year. It was, I believe, the best per year in terms of performance for silver since 1979. So it's
Wow.
been, yeah, it's crazy. So the price has been going steeply upwards for that year, but then recently you saw a sharp decline. So about 30, over 30%, I think close to 37% of its value wiped out in a drop. There's a small rebound upwards again, and then it's dropping again now as at the tail end of this last week. So a lot of volatility. You have that history of for the past year, strong growth, and then suddenly a downturn, bit of a rebound, still going down. So a lot of volatility in the market. And so that's the context for how the prices have been shifting. And I think
Great.
we're going to get a bit more into what's driving that.
Yes, exactly. So, what are the you literally anticipated the next question? What are the primary drivers for this volatility? Right? Is it purely speculative trading by people? Let me see, gold was there, and then now let me try the silver. Or are there like a real supply demand signal at the background? Suddenly, maybe this industrial who uses the silvers for different industries, even like high tech industries, is that area? Like, give us your findings or your thoughts on this.
Great question. So silver, like gold, has been going up and it has some of the same drivers, but there's some key differences between silver and gold. So one thing you see is that as an asset class, commodities and precious metals like gold and silver, when other asset classes are looking less reliable or more shaky, money goes out of those assets and into things like gold and silver. So when the dollar looks weaker or other currencies look weaker, you'll see some money go out of those assets and go into gold and silver. So that's one driver that was helping push up the price of silver. But
Mm-hmm.
silver, unlike gold, also has a lot more industrial applications. So you'll see silver used in solar panels, in for photovoltaic cells, in electrical vehicles, in the defense industry, in AI data centers. So there's a lot of industrial demand for silver. So what you see is that the price of silver isn't just moving based on those factors of the monetary structure or the monetary regime in the world or geopolitics, but also for industrial demand, right? So how much does silver do these businesses need? And as a result, because it's tied to industry, it also makes it a bit cyclical. So there'll be times in the year when maybe data centers are focusing more on the components that require silver. That'll push up
Mm-hmm.
cyclically the demand for silver, which would push up the price. There might be another part of the year where they're not have less demand for silver, more demand for other things. So that might cause a bit of a downturn in terms of that driver. So there's a few more factors for silver than for gold. So that in itself, that cyclical nature of its ties to industry is one thing that can cause a bit more volatility. But importantly, the market dynamics are a bit different. So the silver market is smaller than the gold market. What that means is it's more illiquid and that basically every price action is magnified. So you have
Mm-hmm.
there's speculative players in every market. So people who are not really in it for the long haul. They're not really investing and holding, but they're here for, they come to a market and think, okay, this is what I think is going to happen, and I'm going to bet on that happening. So these actors can distort price mechanisms and changes in price. So because silver is a smaller market, those speculative players have a bit more influence. So what might be like a 1% move in a market like gold, for example, could have like a 10% move in a market like silver because it's a tighter, more illiquid market. So a lot of this is probably driven by those speculators as well. People who expected it to go up, it went up, they're cashing out now. People who
Mm,
expect it to go down, so they're betting on it going down, so it pushes it down further. So that drives a lot of the volatility that you see.
understood. That's a very interesting to learn. Thank you for sharing that. Um, what does the CME Group increased margin requirement tell us about the market stress and risk in the silver futures?
Great.
Have you looked into it?
For sure, for sure. So, for reference for our viewers, the CME is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. They're an exchange where people can trade in basically futures contracts. So, that's sort of me buying a contract for, I'll buy silver or any other commodity at this price in the future. So, it's a futures contract. And they have certain restrictions. So when you come in for a futures contract with the CME, you have to have a margin. So you have to have some collateral with them. At some certain percentage of the bets you're making on these future contracts, you have to have with them as a collateral. So what they've done is, in response to this volatility, they've increased the requirements. So you need to have more collateral with them. I think
Mm,
the reason for doing this basically is by increasing that standard, saying, you need to have more collateral with us to push out some of the smaller speculators. So they won't be able to clear out speculation entirely, but I think their hope is by raising the standard to reduce some of that speculative effect and thus reduce volatility a little bit.
great, great, awesome. So, very quickly to communicate with our audience, as usual, as we mentioned at the beginning, please leave if you have any questions, leave it in the comments. We can even bring it up to our screen and then share it with everyone. So, please, if you have any questions, if you have any comments about all these Market Talk with Musaffa. We are happy to listen, to bring it up, to consider it. Also, it would be interesting to learn if which country you are from, and if you ever looked into or considered investment in gold or silver. That would be interesting to learn. You don't have to disclose what you have or on your portfolio, which is of course very sacred information. We don't want you to share. But if you ever considered that would be interesting to learn to see the audience how Muslim investors are looking into it. Now, I guess I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna bring us a little bit to the fundamental drivers to discuss those points. How does the silver industrial demand, especially with the solar you mentioned, EVs or electronics or AI hardware, especially AI is like a big if it's one of the main components. I'm sure the silver may continue to be one of the important commodities, right? And then so how these support the price beyond the safe haven moves?
Great question. Great question. So, yeah, so like I mentioned a bit earlier, unlike gold, there is some demand for silver baked in, right? So, for gold, you still obviously have a lot of demand for jewelry, and you do with silver as well. But for gold, you don't see as much need in you mentioned as well, the solar panels, those cells, electric vehicles. Electric vehicles need twice as much silver than your conventional combustion engine cars.
Wow.
AI data centers, right? There's a lot of components because silver is a much better conductor than any other metal. So
Mm,
it's really really valuable for these sorts of industrial purposes. And what we've seen with silver is over the past 10, 12 years, industrial demand for silver has been pushing up the demand overall. So what I mean by that is your annual production of silver. So how much silver is getting mined and refined and then pushed into the market. A greater and greater percentage of that is for it goes to industrial demand. So in
mhm.
2014, around 2014, 2015, industrial demand accounted for 51%, so about half
Wow.
of production. But as of 2024, it was 83%. So you see
Wow.
especially as AI is booming, these data centers are more important. People are building more, bigger data centers. It's got these increase, and then also electric vehicles, right? They're a bigger thing now than they were 10 years ago, and that trajectory may continue. So there's that baked in demand that's going to be pushing up prices probably in one direction. That's a core driver. A second thing is that can push up the demand for silver, that can push up prices for silver, is while you have high demand and demand may even increase, there's a bit of a supply glut. So there's a bit of a structural deficit in that there's two things with silver. One is for any mine actually, is it takes a while to build a mine. So it takes a while for supply to catch up with demand. So if someone may decide, okay, I need these, an AI company may need a data center for such and such reason. It approaches someone to make that data center. So now that person has an order, okay, now I need to make a data center, so I need this much more silver. So
Hmm.
but it'll take a while for miners to be like, okay, I have this much more demand, so I have to build another mine. That mine can take, the lead time is 7 to 15 years to build. So it takes a time for supply to catch up with demand for that reason. And so what happens is when demand is greater than supply, that can push up prices. So that's another key mechanic in this market, I would say.
That's interesting to learn, brother Shah. It's if it's 83%, it's huge. So there,
Yeah,
if even imagine if it's gonna grow, so it's gonna be like huge demand for silver.
100%. 100%.
Yes, and people probably are looking into that too. Like nothing happens out of nowhere. I mean, it happened, of course, in the past with these meme stocks. But even for that, there was a some driver, right? Like because people wanted to get out of this like in mainstream investment type of things, right? There's some drivers.
100%.
Of course, always there's something behind it. So
Of course.
I want to ask our moderator to bring up one of the users are commenting. Thank you so much for engaging and being and leaving comments. It's very, very important. So Muhammad Abdul Hassan is saying that he's stuck with the Al Bilad Gold ETF in Tadawul. Bought it at the peak. So last week, he's saying. So there's a lot of interest. Again, whatever we share here on our live sessions, don't take it as a recommendation or any investment advice. This is us discussing with the people, and then we're just looking into the market. This is only educational and informative sessions, right? So thank you so much, brother Muhammad Abdul Hassan, for sharing with us. Yes, we want our audience to share. So this is also informative for other Muslim brothers and investors to see what's going on the market, right? And stay informed. Thank you so much for that. So if my next question, brother Shah, what the role of um, let me take you into the macro market sentiment. How do broader macro trend like a dollar strength, inflation expectation, risk sentiment, historical impact, silver versus gold? This usually impacts the these two commodities.
Great question. Great question. So, like I said, these are a sort of a specific and a special asset class that the way it works is when one thing's down or looks volatile or looks risky, people move money out of that asset class into another. So similarly, when if the dollar looks like it's weakening, or if other countries' currencies also look like they're weakening, right? If people don't have as much faith that the EU or sorry, the euro is going to give them a good return, or the Japanese yen, for example, if those things look risky and you're not sure what direction they're going, people will typically take that money out and put it in a asset which is considered safer, like gold, and to some degree also silver, right? So these hard commodities that are not tied to a fiat currency. Silver, like I mentioned, is slightly distinguished from gold in that it also has industrial demand. So it's not quite the same thing as gold, which it has that legacy or that aura of being a historical currency. Silver also was a historical currency. It was used as in the metallic period. It was used as a bimetallic currency, but it also has industrial demand. So there's pros
Mhm.
and cons to that. The pro to that is there's always going to be some industrial demand for silver, which can help push the price up. The con, like we discussed, is that cyclical nature can lead to more volatility with gold as well. But yeah, so the silver market and the gold market respond to that. So they'll respond to geopolitical trends, they'll respond to weakness in currencies. And so when there's weakness in currencies, you'll see money go to these places. And same with interest rates, because so one thing that happened also that may have pushed the price of silver down is with the news about the next Fed chair being Kevin Warsh, there's some sort of renewed faith that the dollar might strengthen. So what we have been seeing the last year was as the dollar weakened, or it looked like the dollar would continue to weaken, money was going out of the dollar and going into these hard commodities. Now, if it looks like the dollar may strengthen or may at least not decline as much, you may not see as much of that, or at the very least, you saw some people go back from the hard commodities, perhaps back into the dollar in
Yeah.
expectations of the dollar strengthening. So that's another thing to keep in mind.
That's very interesting to learn. Thank you for sharing that perspective. And some people are asking if how to buy the gold and silver for long term. That's also a consideration. Again, we and the user himself is saying just for information, which is very important to know. Everyone have to look into their diversified portfolios and think for themselves. Do thorough research. If something posted, someone posted just buying gold and silver, don't just jump in and then buy the gold and silver. This is another instrument that you can invest. Of course, no one against that. But the point is, again, you do your own research. That's why we, of course, discussing the market. But again, we are not determining for you to make your decision. Right? Interesting. With Aniski mentioning it. Thank you so much. So we go a little bit further with these strategies. Um, so exactly about the diversification I mentioned. What role can silver play in diversified portfolio alongside the equities, gold, and other commodities? Actually, I guess Ganiski expected the question that is coming next one. Alhamdulillah. So
Yeah, so as we always say, like the smartest thing to do generally, and again, this is my opinion, it's not financial advice, diversification helps a lot because, like, as we've seen with even the dollar, right, which is has historically been such a strong financial asset to hold, there's ups and downs. It could decline, right? And it has been declining. And maybe that continues, maybe that doesn't. Like, these assets are very sensitive to things like geopolitical risk, to interest
mhm,
rates, to the performance of other assets, right? To industrial issues like with silver, right? So it makes most sense to diversify so that you can sort of balance out the risks that each has. So that's one thing for which silver, like any other asset, is something to keep in mind, right? You don't want, most likely, you probably don't want all of your portfolio just in the stock market. You don't want
yeah,
it all just in gold. You want to diversify. However, again, silver, like we discussed, can be a bit more volatile than gold because of that cyclical nature of being an industry, because also the market is smaller. That means there's more speculation. That means it's more volatile. So that's something to keep in mind. You may not want a large percentage of your portfolio being dedicated to an asset that's that volatile. So it may, if you, especially if you're a risk averse investor, it might make more sense to invest in things which are, I mean, at least for a larger percentage of your portfolio, which are not as volatile, which are going to be more stable over the short, medium, long term.
great. Thank you so much for going into that. And a few things to mention to our audience. Please stay with us because we, as mentioned at the beginning, some people probably joined a little bit later. We are going to be announcing the discount code, which we are giving away on these live sessions for because of your support, because of your interest into this. It makes us keep going, but also we want to give back to you for you coming and then being with us, right? Sharing your time on these live sessions, of course. And then we have monthly and annual discount code, which we will give away at the end. But very importantly, you need to use it through your web subscription account. So we'll come back to that, but we want you to stay. And then really interesting questions coming up, which we will bring up for now. But I want to share. I want to ask the next question, inshallah. So it's all related to now halal investors consideration, right? For halal compliant investors, Shariah-compliant investors who care about the staying pure and halal, right? So what unique screening or structural considerations apply to silver, especially regarding the physical, that they have to hold a physical requirement the same as gold, and versus leverage or derivative exposure, which actually most people were confused when they looked at some ETFs or some companies who are engaging in the mining and then the gold selling. They were confused why they're not halal, because some companies actually hold them for leverage, right? So and that's if you can give a little bit of light into that one, insight into that one, brother Shah.
Of course, of course. And just to plug Musaffa itself, when you want to do in-depth research on if any specific company or anything is halal or haram and why that is the case, that's what Musaffa is here for. But yeah, so the thing to keep in mind is with any company, and this is a great example of that, while holding silver itself is halal and mining is halal, the structure of the company can be more complicated. So one key example, for example, that we mentioned earlier, the lead time to build a mine can be 7 to 15 years. So that sort of capital expenditure, which you're not going to see a return on for several years, often what that means is I'll have to finance it through debt. So these companies can often have more leverage, they can have more debt, and that might make them haram. A lot of companies also, they might hold silver for a while, right? So the silver's futures market is also very active. So that means I'm sort of selling future silver at a future date, which means I have to hold that silver for a while. So that also means insurance typically, and insurance which with interest is insurance, which is haram. So these things all complicate the picture a bit with things like silver, and it's something you sort of should check, right? Just because you think, okay, this company or this industry is halal, just because silver itself is halal or mining itself is halal, you have to look a bit deeper. Use Musaffa, do an X-ray, see, okay, how are they actually doing? The business side of things might be halal, but what about the financing side, right? Are they leveraged? Do they have interest? So it's definitely something Muslim investors should be cautious about.
Yes, thank you so much for going to it. And I have a little bit bring us to the look into sneak peek to our platform, and we have ETFs tied to silver, right? So we will look into them. Let's see what they're gonna show on Musaffa's side for our users. Will be interesting. But again, whatever we show, any ETFs or any stocks, it's not a recommendation. It's just how you can use our platform. So. Next question, and then just to mention here, you see how our audience is very active. We love it. Please leave your questions, your comments. Everything is very important. Thank you so much for brother Sami Abu Hassan. Thanks for Muhammad Abdul Hassan following up with the questions. I guess that is a very interesting question from Muhammad Abdul Hassan. But again, we cannot give any expectations or any estimates here, because we especially you cannot give anything on any stocks, right? So or any commodities or any pricing, because it depends on a lot on the market, and us giving some estimates would be wrong. Of course, there are some technical analyst sessions probably you may consider if you want to, but again, those also turn out not to be always 100% correct, right? So you take that information, bake into your full research, a comprehensive research, and then you make a decision, right? That's why we are actually built Musaffa, in order to make it the educational hub, that you take full information, not just pieces and bits from somewhere, and then you make a decision quickly, rushing, right? So we want our Muslim Ummah community to be very well educated, to have all of these great tools that Musaffa has, and then use them for your benefit, inshallah, and not to make rushed and then stressful decisions, as the topic of the today's session, right? So next question, brother Shah, and then I guess we will move on with a few other logistical components. Does the metal ownership fit into your halal portfolio strategy? And if so, how should one think about the strong storage, liquidity, or value integrity?
Great question. So this sort of ties together a few of the things we've been discussing, brother Anat. So like it's the metal itself is halal, the mining itself is halal, and it's really good to diversify generally for most investors across different assets and different asset classes and different industries. So it's definitely something for Muslim investors to keep in mind. especially the way the world is going. There's higher geopolitical risk in general in the world. So it's good to diversify across asset classes, and especially in harder commodities, which are sort of more stable typically. But at the same time, pay attention to the specifics, right? So silver's often, not always, but often is more volatile than gold. So that's something to keep in mind as well. When you structure your portfolio, you need an X-ray, you need to think carefully. Okay, I want to diversify, but what percentages, right? What's
Yeah.
more stable and should form sort of the backstop of my portfolio versus what's something that I should have perhaps a little bit of my portfolio dedicated to diversify, and also because, like for example, silver, it has that strong industrial demand. It could go a lot. It could give you a very strong return, but you don't want a very large percentage because of that volatility. So it's something to keep in mind. And then lastly, for us as Muslim investors, ethically minded investors, it's really important to keep in mind, look at the specifics, right? So look at the specific company, look at insurance. Are they, making money off interest? Like, what's their debt situation? Are they leveraged? Which are things which are haram or unethical for us to participate in. So that's something to also keep in mind when doing this.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. So just to point on this side of the screen, you will see our comments. Please leave your comments, any likes, emojis, anything is appreciated. On this side, on top of the screen, you will see download Musaffa. So please download our support our initiative. Now I will share with you our platform, which most people use, but some people probably don't know. And we want to share it with you that we have a ETFs stocks ETF screener, which gives you access to all the ETFs in various markets, and these are screened ETFs, right? These are not only that their board went and certified and gave the certification, but it's based on the IOFI board screening recommendations, screening rules, and standards, right? So that only Musaffa has and obtained that kind of certificate based on for the screening. So we want to share with you. I looked up. So if our moderator team can bring it up, yeah, great. Thank you so much. So you go here on this site, Halal Stock ETF Screener. We have all of these tools on the left side of the menu bar. You click it this way, it comes up, and then you go to the Halal ETF Screener. I have US. So now, I looked up, and there are physical silver ETFs and then silver mining ETFs. Physical silver ETF, there are two, CLV and then CIRV. So we will look into that one. So let me search CLV as I guess this one is the stocks, but I'm trying to look into ETFs. If this one is so CLV is not coming up, I guess this one probably. So this one is showing not halal, right? So you can see one of the ETFs is not halal, and I'll go and search another one. This one. So this one is not coming up, but we have a Sprott Silver Miner. This one is actually, yeah, this one is the mining one. Again, so we will open and look into it, why it is not halal. So when you go to detailed report or Sharia compliance report. So detailed financial screening is not provided for this ETF, as it has already failed the core business activity. So the core business activity, because here too many non-halal stocks. And again, so for example, we'll open one of the main stocks here. So when it fails the core business activity, that means almost more than 50% of the stocks which is underlining under this ETFs, these ETFs, they are not halal. Their core business activity is not halal. And when it fails, our team already do not go into detail of looking into many aspects of the ETF. Now, if you look here, So this stock, why would it be not halal? So it tells you not halal 64%. You would say, oh, why silver? So, and then here details. So when you click the silver, it says, according to Sharia standards, both payment and delivery for the gold and silver must occur on the spot. So, however, the presence on the trade receivables in the statement of financial position implies credit sales of gold and silver. Therefore, such revenues is considered non-compliant. And Musaffa has been the only one who is going into depth into such analysis and digging in and confirming this with the Sharia advisors. That's why we don't blindly go and then put, if anything is silver or gold tied stocks or ETFs, we don't go blindly and then put them as halal, right? So you can see that there's also interest baked in. You can also look into it also fails the interest bearing securities and assets. This company itself, whatever its investment goes, it's very high. Out of 700 and not of 709 million of its valuation, almost half of it, a little bit more than half of it, is coming actually from interest bearing. This one, it passes about the loans. It's a little bit less than 30% of the market of the requirement. But again, we looked into one of them, one of their stocks of these ETFs, right? So we want you to, let me actually look for two more that we have. Let's see, sorry. So you can see Amplified Junior Silver Miner also is not halal. And then I will check one more. This ETF, Silver Miners, also not halal. So just one more to click and check if these ETFs, why it's not halal. It says again, the core business activity fails. That's why we didn't do it. And then if you go and look at it, almost most of them, which is in terms of even you look at the weight of this, you see the Wheaton Precious Metal Corp is also not halal. Many of them not halal. So we have, but this one is related to zinc. It's not silver. So you can look into the core business of these holdings, and almost most of them is not halal. So you could think of, oh, then there is a reason why this fails, right? So this helped. But again, if you want to screen for halal ETF screeners, you can come here, click halal, and it gives you that there's 75 matching ETFs. So if you want to consider investing in ETFs, and then maybe I can look into the assets. So this is equity and fixed income. You can look at the different things. You can look at the strategy and comparison, financial performance, industries, etc. You can look into all of those information and make your decision. And we have 75 matching ETFs, which are halal, and you can get all the information about them, right? So thank you so much for looking into our platform. Again, the reason why I was showing, if you want to take a full advantage of Musaffa's platform for all your research, we have a code for today for today's participants to take full advantage of it. And then I would like to bring that code to the screen so that people start using it, and I will explain it a little bit. So when you want to take advantage of it, you need to go to your account. Here you will click my portfolio, and then you change my profile. You go, apologies, you go here, and then you can change subscription, right? So based on that subscription, you change it to the one that you need to. But when you are signing up and we're using that code, please use the code on the website. It's not gonna work on the app, so you need to use it on the web. And if I go to the pricing plan, it may be showing me from my country, from where I'm located, which I actually don't want to show. It could be a little bit slightly different from the market where you are coming in to the platform. So please use the code I guess I need to ask the sister Nafisa Khan to bring to put the code, discount code, which yeah, here we go. The subscription code is here. It's Market Talk, which is short of Mar Talk, 220. So use this one, and then this applies to up to, I believe, both monthly and annual to our subscriptions. Take full advantage of it, and use it for your benefit, inshallah. So, and then this is like a thank you for your participation and asking questions. So, and then there's a question from Ganiski. So the question is, when will be Musaffa Halal platform is going to be launched? So I'm confused about this question because Musaffa's Halal, maybe this is about trading platform. If this is a question about trading platform, we launched it more than around 140 countries already. But if the question was related to US market, we are working on this, and it's going to come very, very soon, inshallah. You can also get familiarized with all our information about. If you go to the footer, we already posted how we are working on this trading platform. Musaffa is SEC registered investment advisor. It of course partners with multiple vendors for this purposes, basically. So if you have any more questions, we will remain maybe a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes to answer your question, to bring up to here and then discuss it. Yes, US and Canada. Okay, so for US, we're launching very soon. We're working tirelessly. There's one legal requirement and one government requirement that we have to address, and then it's going to be launched. So as you can see, that US requirements are very, very demanding and high. But for Canada, it's going to be a little bit probably delayed, maybe a quarter. But we're working on that very hard too, because the Canadian market, Canadian regulators are super strict. That's why you don't even see Robinhood in Canada, right? So that's why if for us, in order to operate in Canada, we need to have a local requirements to be met. So that one is planned for a little bit, maybe like a quarter. That's very, very good question, and thank you so much for bringing that question up. You can see we are answering those questions live, and it's always fun to interact with our users. Thank you so much. If anyone can leave any nice comments, emojis, and likes, that would be appreciated. Thank you so much, and then use the discount code Market Talk 220. But please note that this discount has expiry timeline. So when you maybe use it after Tuesday, it will already expire. So these have the expiry. So when you're watching it sometimes in the future, don't be surprised that this code is not working, because this is only for the people who come and join this or watch it right after after the show. So it will be till Wednesday. I was just informed they will be working and available till Wednesday. So take full advantage of it. Watch our sessions. Enjoy these discussions. Please come to our sessions. It's we're doing it all for you, to communicate with you, to show about Musaffa, inshallah. Thank you so much for your attention. I guess we're gonna end here, Brother Shah. What do you think?
Sounds good to me. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Thanks everyone for joining and being with us, and stay connected. You always can reach out to support at musaffa.com. If you have any investment questions, go to investors@musaffa.com. And we have lots of other emails that we made available, but please use Musaffa's official websites and official channels to communicate. Please don't go some made up. Usually there could be pop-up from anywhere, right? Any social media can come up with a group that they try to maybe lure people to do some things, and they may use our names. So be vigilant. Always check our public channels. Thank you so much for everyone's attention. It was nice talking to everyone. We end here. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.